Hey guys, we're back again and going to be looking at our first Airfix kit in a fairly long while with their Defiant Mk.1 kit. Now, let's open her on up and take a look. So starting it off, first sprue contains a good number of the parts to build up the turret, the various inner parts for the cockpit area and the turret compartment, as well as a few odds and end parts. But most notably is the landing gear bay doors. Now this is something I think Airfix has done a really smart job on, and I wish more companies would do this. They've included two sets of landing gear doors. This set for if you're posing it with the landing gear down, and this set for if you're doing it as an in-flight display. The nice thing about this is you can also use these as a masking aid. This would dramatically make masking off and ensuring that you're not getting paint spillage into your landing gear bays a lot simpler and easier. So bravo to Airfix for doing that. I really like that inclusion. It's one of those things, they don't have to do it, but the fact that they did really just gives it that nice little bit of an extra. So continuing on, we've got some of the engine parts here, as well as a few other odds and ends. Most notably, we've got two different styles of exhausts, neither of which is opened up, so that is something you're either going to have to open up yourself or look at getting aftermarket set. We've also got our main gear, which are nicely done. We've got our prop. We've got our two sidewalls for the cockpit, which I do like that they are separate components, so will make painting a little easier. Unfortunately, they do have some pretty nasty ejector pin marks. That does unfortunately take away from the experience a lot. And lastly, we've got our front instrument panel, which is nice. It's not terrible. It's not the best. Sort of nicely in the middle. If you can once you cut out the decals for the instrument gauges, it'll look quite nice. Moving on, we've now got our various wing components. One thing that Airfix has decided to do on this kit is separate the ailerons and other control surfaces, so you'll be able to do some playing with how you display it, especially since and we'll see this in instructions. They do show you how to do it if you want to do it as an in-flight display. So a lot of nice little things with this kit. Now you can also see here on the two upper wing halves the panel line work that Airfix has done. It's a little on the large side, and while it is nice and crisp, it's just that much too big by my eye. So your rivet counters will probably voice their opinion, but overall, it's an area that could be a little better. Now, here we can also see the detail in the landing gear bays. It's okay. It's not great. Again, not the worst, not the best, sort of nicely in the middle. Continuing on, we've got now our fuselage halves, which you can see here. Again, give you a sense of the size of this once it's built up. We've also got the bottom parts for the cockpit and turret area, and one nice thing they've also done is weighted the wheels. So that's another nice little inclusion. And we've also got some additional control surface areas for the wings. Now, lastly, our clear parts. Now, Another nice thing about this kit is you're given two different styles of rear canopy. One with this angle bit and one that's going to be straight. And you also have the accompanying style of turret. So that is something to be aware of. You want to make sure you're using the right turret combination for the individual aircraft you're building. One thing, and we'll see this once we get into instructions, that I don't like about this kit is that you're only given marking options for two aircraft utilizing the same style of canopy. It would be nice that they had one of both, but I digress. Here we've got our decal sheet. Would have been nice had they separated the individual gauges for the instrument panel, but otherwise it's serviceable. Overall, the coloring is just a little on the dark side. It could have been a little brighter, a little crisper, a little whiter in the whites, a little redder in the red. Blues are okay. I suspect they probably printed the blues first and then built color out from there. But otherwise, it's more than serviceable. You shouldn't have any issues using the kit's decals. Now let's move on to the instructions. Now, despite its looks, this kit's actually surprisingly complicated in its build sequence. Partially due to the fact you're not only building up the cockpit, you're also building up the turret. One thing I did notice right away, personally, I think it would be easier when you're attaching the pilot seat to the bulkhead to attach the side rests to the seat first and then attach all of them at once to the bulkhead. I think that will give you a lot less difficulty than trying to get those side rests aligned once the seat's on. Beyond that, it's straightforward from build up the cockpit. There's no real surprises from there, thankfully. I do like that they do try to show you what parts are being utilized where, and all how things are supposed to fit. I think Airfix done a smart job with this instruction sheet. Now, I also like that they do tell you, the maximums for your deflection angles. That's another nice inclusion. Something they didn't have to do, but it just gives it that little bit extra. Now, as I mentioned before, they give you the options for with the landing gear up and with the landing gear down. And it's actually on this particular panel, I almost missed it, that they show you where to drill the mounting hole for a stand that I guess they sell separately. Obviously, you can use your own, but the fact that they tell you where you need to drill it so that you can properly balance it is a nice extra as well. So beyond that, the only other real gotcha point is going to be here building up this turret, just because it's going to be a complex build. A lot of small parts, a lot of little details, so take your time and go slow. As I mentioned before, we're given two different styles of canopy, so make sure you're going with the proper one for the individual turret style for the aircraft you're going to build. Oops, almost missed the page. Sorry about that. So once you're through with getting the turret properly set up and configured, then it's just last little odds and end parts. And then on to markings. As I said before, you're given two marking options, both of which utilizing that one style of canopy. Both are from early 1940s, as that's primarily when this aircraft was in use, as it was primarily conceived to be a defensive fighter for taking down bombers, as at the time they figured that fighters wouldn't have the range to stay with the bombers all the way to the target. Obviously, it quickly became evident that that idea was not factual. So, overall, I think Airfix has put a lot of effort into this kit. They've done a lot of smart things, and while some detailing is only middle of the road, you're given a lot of bang for your buck. This isn't a super expensive kit either. So I actually granted I picked this up on sale for about $10. I'm trying to work out the conversion in my head, but I think it worked out to about $10 US. And yeah, it's definitely one to pick up if you're interested in that Battle of Britain era aircraft, especially since it's one you don't see that often, mainly because it had a relatively short service life. And, obviously the flashier Spitfires and Hurricanes typically get built more often. So this is one to consider if you're looking for something from that period that's going to be different than what you're going to typically see. So that was a look at Airfix's Defiant Mk.1. A nice little kit with a lot of complexity to it, but a lot of smart options. So until next time.